After a not so pleasant scroll on Twitter, or X if you want to be hip and cool, I came across some unusual but expected bait on the timeline. It was an image that simply had the words hardworking and gifted split into two categories with anime characters divided into each category. Now, the assortment really seemed to be pretty random since it doesn't make sense, and I did have my own reply on Twitter, but I wanted to break this down in a video because there's a lot of nuances being missed and it doesn't make any sense to me. For starters, the idea of splitting up characters based on whether they're hardworking or gifted, which is a really arbitrary thing, it seems, is really, incredibly dumb. So let's look at a couple of examples on the list and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, I have the list here on my phone. So, Yuji, okay, so hardworking, I don't know all of these characters and I can't speak for all of them. In the hardworking tier, we have Yuji, the guy from Blue Lock, Saitama, Luffy, Sanji, I think, Gon, Gojo, and Ed. And then in the gifted, we have Zoro, Goku, Tanjiro, Boruto, Asta, Naruto, Ichigo, and Deku, which dude, I'm gonna come back to Deku later. I think the only two on this list who I could legitimately give a pass as solely hardworking is Yuji and Saitama. They're both characters who in their perspective world had no power at the beginning of the series. Like Saitama went through all of that rigorous training and he has that, that infamous like workout routine, and that's where he got all of his power from. And that's how he became the One Punch Man. Same for Yuji. Yuji didn't really have any affinity for cursed techniques or jujitsu. Like he wasn't a jujitsu sorcerer at all prior to eating Sukuna's finger. And even then, like, he was just kind of a vessel. He didn't really have that ability himself. And then he underwent training to learn how to use cursed energy to then be on par with everyone else. So those are really the only two, at least that I can speak to, because like I can't talk about the guy from Blue Lock or Luffy or like any of the One Piece characters or Gon. Like I just don't know. So I'm gonna stick with the characters that I do know so I don't sound like an idiot. For Gojo, let's talk about Gojo for a sec. Gojo in hardworking makes no sense to me because Gojo's main abilities, the 6 eyes and like the limitless curse technique, are literally things he got from the Gojo clan. That if you're gonna put Deku in gifted for getting his powers from somewhere else, you also have to put Gojo in that same category because he got his powers from the genetics of his family. He did not like just sit down and be like, oh, I'm gonna grind it out one day and learn 6 eyes. Doesn't make any sense to me. And here's the thing, I only know Gojo up to the end of season 2. So like I did see all of the hard work he did put in after is it Rico? I don't remember. After that incident in Hidden Inventory, he did start putting in a lot of work to learn how to fully utilize those powers, but I don't think he like should just get hardworking alone, right? His literal presence as a child because of his genetics is what scared the curses away. So no. Gojo is a combination of hard work and gifted because it was only through the hard work that he was able to fully utilize the gift. Okay, moving on. Edward Elric. Do not sit here and tell me that Edward Elric is solely hard work. That is such a lie. Yes, Ed spent a lot of time studying alchemy and learning how to do transmutation circles and the ins and outs of what you can, like the law of equivalent exchange. But also because of his dad, he had a natural knack and a natural affinity. So he's another one who's not just solely hard work. And maybe this is what this person wanted from this list, was like people to make videos about it and give them attention. And you know what? If that's what you want, great, you got it. I'm gonna sit here and tell you why you're wrong though. So yeah, Ed is another one I would not put in solely hardworking, because he did have a natural affinity for alchemy. So now we're moving into gifted. Bro, you cannot put Goku in gifted when people complain about how much he trains. That just is wrong. And this is kind of the trend with all of these characters, right? Is they all have this natural affinity for something. Like Goku has the Saiyan blood in him. So he obviously can go Super Saiyan and like that's how he gets his power. But he also had to train and learn how to do that. He didn't just magically wake up as an infant and say, oh, I'm gonna go Super Saiyan, boom, and then turn Super Saiyan. Like, he had to train and learn the martial arts and learn all of the different techniques and figure out how to do that. And even when it was Super Saiyan, like, that was kind of just a thing that happened because his body was strong enough and able to do it, and he had the right emotional push to do that. Okay, Goku, no, not in Gifted. Very similar rant for Tanjiro here as we move down the list, right? Yes, Tanjiro has a natural affinity for sun breathing, which coincidentally is the most powerful of the breathing techniques, right? That does not mean he's gifted, because literally the first arc of the series after Nezuko gets turned into a demon is him training with Urokodaki for 2 years. He spends 2 years training just to go to the final selection. That's not even like becoming a demon slayer. He still had to pass the final selection. He didn't just, oh, now I'm a demon slayer because I have these earrings that say I'm related to a sun breather. And he's not even really related to Yorichi. They're not even related. He gave the earrings to one of Tanjiro's descendants and said, hey, pass this on for me. And then it gets passed down the generation, and then it gets to Tanjiro. Also, he had to learn how to use water breathing properly. He had to learn how to use the Hinokami Kagura properly without completely depleting his stamina. And after that, he had to learn how to use sun breathing while also maintaining the mark. Did you not the Hashira training arc just finished? That was kind of the whole point. Sorry, this is a really long-winded rant for each character. It's just wrong, and it makes no sense to me. And then the last one on the list that I can talk about is Deku. Don't even get me started. This is probably the most frustrating one on this whole list, is putting Deku in Gifted solely, and I know why Deku is there, because this is not the first time I've seen this kind of list and this kind of like, oh, hardworking versus Gifted. I always like the hardworking characters. Deku is always put in Gifted simply because he got his power from All Might, and One for All was passed on to him. That is why everyone puts him in Gifted. And that is incredibly disingenuous to his character, because before he could even get One for All, right, he had to go through 10 months of training with All Might. And then after that, yes, he was gifted the quirk by All Might, but let's also not forget that he spent that 10 months. And then even when he did have One for All, every time he used it, he would break a finger, an arm, a leg, whatever. So then there was more training and more hard work to figure out how to utilize his power without breaking his body, which was kind of what he went through with Gran Torino in season 2 after the sports festival arc. So then he was able to use One for All at that extent. Then his arms were getting too beat up, so he had to learn how to use his legs. You know, the infamous meme, high schooler remembers he has legs. And then he has to learn how to manage getting up to higher percentages. That's kind of how things continually progress. And then he gets Air Force so he can do the flicks with the gloves. Then he has to learn how to use multiple quirks. He's got Black Whip, Smokescreen, Fajin. Oh, well, that one's not in the anime yet. Float? Danger Sense? Brother. I don't know, you try to tell me how to parallel process quirks. That seems like he had to put in a lot of hard work to figure out how to use his power. I'm just saying. I think the biggest misconception about the hardworking and gifted character argument is that these aren't mutually exclusive lists, as I kind of just went over. They're things that should complement each other. Saying a character is gifted implies that they are immediately good at their power or skill and never need to work to improve it at all, right? Like, they don't have to train, don't have to do anything, and that's just so blatantly false. The thing to realize is that rather than saying a character is hardworking or gifted, I think we need to start putting characters in this third blended category of talented, because talented implies that not only does someone have a natural knack and affinity for whatever that thing is, whatever the power or skill, but it also implies that they're able to put in the hard work, make their skill at that very good, and they're able to improve through the hard work with this natural gift that they have. Take me, for example. I have a natural talent for making YouTube videos, scripting, thumbnails. I mean, I've done a couple stream, or maybe just one stream, of me like doing thumbnails, and I've showed you guys my process and how I do that. And I didn't just wake up good at YouTube, though. I didn't just wake up and know how to use a camera and a microphone and lights. Like, this is something that, while God did give me the natural affinity and skill for, and even like an interest and a passion in doing this, I still had to watch YouTube videos to learn how to use a camera, lights, editing software. I've spent 4 years trying to learn how to use Premiere. I've spent multiple years on YouTube learning how to do thumbnails, titles, tags, descriptions, like optimizing search engine optimization. Like, these are all things that I've gotten good at, but only through hard work, dedication, and practice. So while you would say, oh, he's gifted at doing YouTube, right? I would say I'm talented at doing YouTube because, as I said, it's kind of one of those things you have to constantly work at. And by no means am I perfect either. When it comes to YouTube, I've definitely still got a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn about Premiere and lighting and camera. Like, I'm sure this setup doesn't, I mean, it probably looks great, but even me sitting here can self-analyze and say that there are things I want to adjust before I film the next video. And things like script writing, sometimes I feel like it doesn't come off super natural. So like, that's something I can improve on too. So it's just this constant improvement that can only come through the hard work of actually doing it. Everyone has a natural affinity for something, be it YouTube or going to the gym or cooking, teaching, filming, or like even art per se, right? Like, you're not gonna walk up to an artist at a convention and say, oh, you're just really gifted. Like, I can tell that you didn't really put any time and effort, but you're just gifted. Like, you walked out of the womb knowing how to draw. You wouldn't say that to someone because they're gonna look at you, they're gonna laugh, and they'll be the first ones to tell you how much time and effort they put in to learn and get really good at their craft. These artists that you see on Twitter who have these amazing art, they did not just wake up and do that. Like, it was a very slow thing that they had to progress through. I mean, even like in the same vein of art, look at like PewDiePie, who learned how, or like completely self-taught himself how to draw simply by the repetitive action of, I'm gonna draw today. I'm gonna draw today. What can I improve on from yesterday's drawing? What can I improve on from yesterday's drawing? And just continually going. If you haven't seen that video, by the way, I highly encourage you to watch it, because say what you will about PewDiePie, that video, at least in my opinion, was very inspiring and uplifting, because you can apply that technique, or you can apply that mentality to anything. It doesn't just have to be teaching yourself how to draw. It can be teaching yourself how to make a YouTube video, how to clean your iPhone storage, or play video games. Like, you can apply that to anything, and you can get better at it by the repetitive action of doing it over and over and over and over again. Saying particular anime characters are gifted also defeats one of the main themes in anime, which is you can accomplish anything if you're willing to work for it. Deku could become a hero, Tanjiro could save Nezuko, Goku could become the strongest, Ed could bring back Alphonse, and so on and so forth, with many other examples, if they're willing to put in the time and effort and sacrifice it takes to actually do those things. Nothing is just magically accomplished. Why do you think so many people, myself included, say anime is a motivation for them to work out and go to the gym? Because we know that if we put in the time, the effort, and all of those things, we can look like and be stronger like our favorite anime characters. Like, I listen to anime music in the gym, especially stuff like You Say Run and all of those like more hype, like Attack on Titan themes, because it gets me motivated, and I'm like, oh, if I really work at it, like, I can be strong, and like I can, you know, be a better version of myself. And saying that characters are just gifted and they didn't work for that, like I said, defeats one of the main themes in most anime. I try not to let things like this obvious bait bother me, and I usually just give it a Twitter reply and call it a day and say, oh, that's it. But this one got me fired up, as you could see in the video. So I decided to make a video on it, because I just feel like it's something that needs to be talked about. And it's one of these things that just needs to be shut down. I know it's engagement bait on Twitter, but let's stop using false things as engagement bait, right? Like, that just, maybe we should just start being more honest. I don't know. That's just a thought. But I want to know what you all think. Do you think there is such a thing as like gifted anime characters, or is it really just hard work, determination, and that's what makes characters great? So I'd love to hear what you guys think. I always love reading through comments, and we can have a discussion and chat about it. But in the meantime, you can also subscribe if you enjoy the content, and check out one of the videos on screen to check out said content, and I hope you enjoy it.